Do your moms ever apologize?
Um, I'm Puerto Rican, so there is no such thing as an apology. She's right even when she's wrong, okay? You just forget about it after a while and move on to the next issue.
My mom didn't used to. Now she apologizes too much. It annoys me. But
Yeah.
Oh,
but growing up, hell nah. Guyanese. Like she
yeah.
she was just gonna be wrong. Like, or she was
And
gonna be
and like
right, but like
that's the
that's
hill that they were gonna die on.
hmm
Like they are right even when they know they're wrong. And what I used my mom would like the minute I knew I was right was when she stopped bringing it up because that meant she realized that she was wrong, and so she would just change the
When she
subject.
changed the subject, yeah, that's when it
Yeah, that's the go-to move. I'm not wrong. We're just gonna talk about something else. Why don't you clean your room? Did you got homework or something?
Why are they like this, man?
that's funny. Well, thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time with us, we're the secret group of brown kids. Who are the secret group of brown kids? Well, it's a secret. But you might be able to find us down in Colombia, rerouting rivers and bringing the donkeys back home. All right. And on the panel today, uh, we got Lola. I know you're used to Tim and Kareem and Tara, but we finally got some more secret group of brown kids popping up. Well, I messed that up. We finally got some more secret brown kids popping up.
It's
Uh-oh.
like the illegitimate children.
Look, if if you've been with us for a while, you know, like we're just not going to explain this joke. So,
Papa was a Rolling Stone. Enough said.
man, that's gonna
Well,
that's
hola, it's Lola.
and we got Denzel. And if you really been around for a minute and you really know your stuff, that's another quarter of the Brotaku block.
Hey, we'll
Put
come
them.
back one day.
Yeah, that's another podcast that I'll be on for anime. Oh, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Tiff, your captain, but whatever. Enough about me. Today we are doing Encanto for a special Mother's Day episode. I say special as in like I don't know, it's Mother's Day. That's why we're doing Encanto. So,
Yeah, enough said.
all right. Currently streaming on Disney Plus, so watch along if you want to go back and watch it, or if you haven't watched it yet. And Encanto came out November 2021, directed by Jared Bush, Byron Howard, Charisse Castro Smith. Also written by them, I think, and stars Stephanie Beatriz, Maria Cecilia Botero, and John Leguizamo, and a bunch of other folks. Honestly, it's a Disney animated feature, not Disney Pixar. It was a Disney one, right?
Correct. It
I
was a
think so.
Disney
Yeah.
animated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Budget was 50 million. It made 255 million, which is huge. 96 million domestic, which is
Which means if you haven't seen it yet, you were
yeah.
living under a rock because we came here today to talk about Bruno, and I need you to get on it.
Oh man, this is how many times have you seen it, Lola?
Uh, oh my gosh. Are we talking about this year? Or are we talking about since it came out?
Whatever.
Honestly, if we're talking about since it came out, I saw it 3 times in the theater. And there was a point where I probably saw it about once a week for a solid couple of months.
You know what? I understand. This is, I think this is my fourth or fifth time. Not totally sure, but I love it. Denzel.
Yeah, I've seen it at least. I was a slow burner. I heard all the
Mm.
songs before I actually seen the movie, but
You're like, I'll
I've seen
get
it at
to it.
least 3 or 4 times.
All right. So needless to say, we liked it.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, everybody liked it because Rotten Tomatoes score critics 91%, audience 93. So
Sheesh.
that's almost as good as it gets.
Hmm.
We don't got to get
fact that
into
they
Rotten
came
Tomatoes right
together.
now, but if you don't
Yeah, I was
know,
about to say.
yeah, they're that's the thing about Rotten Tomatoes. The critic score, because critics and general audiences don't watch movies the same. And
Yeah,
like anytime you get that whole, oh, they're paying the critics, that this is why you have this setup. But when they're both in agreement, shit was just amazing, right?
yeah.
But yeah, moving
I
on.
think I had like a special introduction to it because I actually had an opportunity to see the movie during a pre-screening before
Okay.
it released.
Oh, you
And
important.
I'm not. I happen to have some cool friends like the guys I'm hanging out with today, that had
Oh,
access
yeah.
to premieres and stuff like that. But when I tell you how hard it was to not spoil everyone, but and also to not like shake everyone or figure out some way to work Encanto into any and every conversation leading up to when it first came out within the first couple of weeks after it came out because I needed everyone to see this movie. Like, so I don't know. Yeah, it just from the very first time I saw it in the movie
They had to be
theater, it
extra
was.
hard because it came out in November. I remember this. It came out in November, but people weren't seeing it yet. And then Disney threw it up on Disney Plus for Christmas. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when everybody started hopping on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you finally had that moment where you're like, thank you. I've been streaming about this damn movie for a month.
Yeah, and also, just in general, I wanted it to do well. I guess I wanted it to do well even without going into any of the substance of what the movie is about or why I loved it, just because of the idea that Disney um shifted its focus to a Spanish story,
Mm.
and a Hispanic or Latino story that wasn't what we've always seen, if you're in the US, which is, the automatic or immediate connection or sort of uh, exchange between Hispanic, Latino, and Mexican. And we had
Mm.
so many stories and stuff come out before, like Coco and the Book of Life, and all these other ones that were all telling like
What you trying to say?
Mexican.
There's more Hispanic countries than
Go
Mexico?
figure. Go figure. So I
What?
really, I
Y'all ain't
really
all the
needed
same?
this. I
What?
needed this to do so good because
But
I needed
everybody's a
them to
Mexican,
see.
right?
All I know
So
is Day of the Dead. That's all I'm saying.
listen,
Mm.
I've had people ask me where in Mexico is Puerto Rico. So like at this point, like
Look, we watched
nothing surprises me.
we watched West Side Story, the remake West Side Story
Goodness
Mhm.
gracious.
recently,
Mhm.
and immediately I was like, are they going to make the joke that Puerto Ricans are American? And like they did it like 3 times. It's like, thank you. And every time they
Mhm.
did it, I was like, but the what is it, the Jets, the white guys, uh
Mhm.
you can tell anytime they said that, the white guys are just like, huh? It's not. Shout out Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Did not know this is where we're going.
No,
Yeah,
we're not. We're not.
yeah.
We're not. I'm just saying that there were several reasons why I wanted this film to do well and why I felt, for lack of a better term, vindicated when it was an overwhelming, smashing success
Mhm.
because I needed it to be a success for more reasons than just the surface level of the story that it's telling. And so I'm happy that we're coming out with the numbers now and it's clear that whether you were a critic or just a casual fan, it resonated with the majority of the audience.
Oh yeah. I'm not Latino or Hispanic, but like I'm from South America, which isn't saying
Mm-hmm.
much because Guyana gets lumped in with the Caribbean and not
Mm-hmm.
the rest of South America because they're the only non-Spanish or Portuguese countries on the continent. But still, I got
Mm-hmm.
cousins in Colombia. It was good seeing. I mean, it's not like modern day Colombia, but it's still good
Of course.
seeing that and seeing something different. Like you said, it's
Hmm.
always the same, and not knocking Mexico or anything like that,
Of course not.
but to other people, that's all they think. Everything is that, and it's not. Like
Mhm.
it's a huge, huge world outside Mexico City. But
Word.
yeah, so real quick, spoiler warning, we're gonna get into the movie and go beat by beat through it. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know why, but just let you know, proceed at your own risk.
Mhm.
It's on Disney Plus, so go stream it if you can. Lola and Denzel, real quick, how'd you feel about it just in general? Don't get into it too much, but
Denzel, you want to go first?
I don't
Yeah.
even know why I'm
So
asking. We already done said we've seen the movie at least 4 times each. So
I mean, fair enough. So I didn't go into it, I went into it already knowing some of the songs and like the popularity of the songs. So I was already expecting it kind of a certain way.
Mhm,
Um, and I really still loved it after knowing the Bruno song and not having any context of what that was, just because
mhm,
all of my friends were singing it and like repeating it like all day, every day. And it was just a great experience. It's a good like family fun time. Um, Sometimes I wish I was closer with my family, my extended family, and like that movie kind of like really came out and like showed me a lot of like family values and just culture. So I really, really appreciated it.
mhm.
For me, I am Puerto Rican, but I identify as an Afro Latina. I have very strong African roots in my family. African diaspora was a thing. And the easiest way for me to summarize what Encanto was is, for me, I feel like Encanto was for Latinos and Hispanics what
Hmm.
the Goofy movie was for African American or Black culture. Like it hit so many points,
Yeah,
both in the story, in some of the key elements in the story, and obviously the thing that everyone always comes back to for both movies, the music, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
mhm,
And we'll obviously go into that in more detail as we dive into what the movie was
yeah,
about. But it really was, it's up there for me. Like, if I had to consider a movie that really gave a good representation to what I think it is to be a Latino specifically, as opposed to a Hispanic. And this is not the podcast for that breakdown.
Oh
But I
no,
think
I
that
look, if you want to
I,
get into it, they gonna learn today.
yeah, I think that this movie really did capture a beautiful essence and spirit and some of the key elements that are transcended irrespective of what your ethnicity is. And it is, like I
Yeah,
said, for
real quick.
me,
If
it's
you don't know, race does not equal ethnicity, does not equal nationality. They go
mhm,
hand in hand, but they are three separate things. Uh,
true.
look it up if that if what she said was confusing to you. But anyway,
But yeah, I would say that it is for me what the Goofy movie was for
this is
Black
neither
kids
here nor
growing
there,
up.
but I can't hear about the Goofy movie without thinking about the Atlanta
Yeah.
episode.
Atlanta,
Oh my god.
absolutely, absolutely.
He
I
said
I'm
stand
showing
true.
my
It is the
kids.
blackest movie that was ever made by Disney.
he
I'm showing
said
my
that
kids that episode.
they were they were up in his office plotting the downfall of white Hollywood.
That is a
Right in the Goofy
historical
movie.
fact to me. That episode is history.
It's true.
I don't
Everything
care if you
about
Mhm.
that
believe it or not.
episode is fully certified, fully researched, verified truth,
My favorite thing about the
especially.
episode is the bump in the beginning which says everything in this episode is true.
Right.
Oh man.
For me, it's the picture. It's the picture of them in the room on the table with the pose.
All right.
Oh man.
If you haven't seen it, watch Atlanta.
What What about you, Tiff? What was the movie for you?
Oh, I loved it. Okay, I watch everything, so I don't
Mhm.
have a story going into it, but I saw it on when it came on Disney Plus. I didn't catch it in theaters, and I was blown away. Like I saw it before. I'm not gonna say before anybody else, but like I saw it before the wave happened, where people, started hopping on it and watching it and posting about it. So I was like, "Yo, y'all need to watch Encanto, Encanto." They're like, "What's that one?" I was like, "It's the new Disney movie." And they were naming every other Disney movie but this one.
Yes.
Now I was like,
Mhm.
I don't understand. Like they've been promoting it. Like I don't know, it didn't stick with people, I guess. And then, but once, I don't know, eventually, like just something happened where after one weekend, everyone watched it, and then all of a sudden, "We Don't Talk About Bruno" was the number one song in the country, and I was like, you know what, good.
Honestly, I think TikTok had a lot to do with it.
That's
I
probably it.
think that TikTok, they started to make the little, audio sound clips where we don't talk about Bruno and other stuff, and people started spreading it,
Hmm.
and it was either people doing dances or choreography or whatever to it, or similar to, I think, what we saw in even more effect with the introduction and the previews of the Little Mermaid, where you got to
Hmm.
see all of these little uh brown girls watching Ariel, and Ariel being a representation of her. I remember seeing a ton of videos of little boys that look like Antonio, little girls
Mm.
that look
Oh
like
yeah, you're right.
Mirabelle, and like that was like a big
Them
thing. Like
standing
there was
in
just,
front of TV and whatnot. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like this me, like that's me. So I feel like TikTok, we were still coming out of COVID, and TikTok was really like a big thing for people, and it blew up on TikTok, which then made it all of a sudden become very mainstream.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good point. Good point. All right. Well, let's get into it, right?
Hmm.
Let's
All right.
go.
Film starts out with the grandmother explaining to her granddaughter that their family has magic thanks to a candle that holds a miracle. And she tells her a long time ago, her and her grandfather were fleeing their home to safety, but Abuelo, grandfather, was lost. But as in he passed away. But in that moment, a miracle happened, and the land transformed and protected her and, and her children and the folks with them. And the house appeared and welcomed them. And when her three children were of age, they were given each a magical gift, and their children as well. And when the little girl is of age, she'll get her gift too, right?
Yeah, so it's like she's passing along the stories of the family, the history of the family, in the way that there's a lot of folklore that is
Yeah.
a string or a thread amongst Spanish families. So she's giving her the heads up, and she's like, "Don't worry, when it's your turn, you're gonna get magic too. This is the traditions and the essence of who we are as the Madrigals."
Kind of like how Black Panther started, right? I
Yep.
mean, minus the
Very
magic, but
much.
yeah.
Yep.
It's that generational wealth.
Hmm.
Of knowledge, cultural experience, cultural value, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
what I was
I
talking
mean,
about.
yes. Yes, because the land protected them
Mm,
from invasion. So
hmm.
very similar to Black
Hey,
Panther, where they
hey,
were not colonized.
Hmm.
So they had, mm, let's talk
oh,
about it.
okay,
they
well,
had they
hey,
had generational wealth, whether it be both in knowledge and in material things, as you will see. That they were able to pass on to their children and their children's children, because they were protected from outside influence or invasion.
take your time, Pastor.
And then they got their powers from the herb.
Word.
Mm, mm.
This one
Uh,
was a candle, but I mean, there was a
yeah.
flame involved, so I get it.
Oh no, this took a turn. All right, blaze it. Then we have a time skip, and we have a time skip, and the girl's a teenager now. It's the day where the youngest member of the family gets his gift, Antonio. The children ask for a rundown, or children in the town ask for a rundown of what magical gifts everyone has. So Maribel, who's the teenager, explains it in the song. That's when we get the song of the family madrigal. And I guess we could go through and just go ahead and name the family members and their powers, right? So Abuela, head of the family, she doesn't have powers herself, but she is like the keeper of the flame. She has the magic candle that all the magic comes from, right?
She
It
got
was
that
bestowed
fire.
on her. Yeah.
Then she had her three kids was a Peppa, and her emotions control the weather. Julieta, her the food she cooks heals, and then there's Bruno, but we don't talk about Bruno. And then their children, Peppa has Dolores, who has super hearing, and Camilo, who can shapeshift into people, and Antonio, who's about to get his gift. Julieta has Isabella, who can create flowers, beautiful flowers. Luisa, who has super strength, and Mirabelle, who, as we learn, didn't get a gift.
And let's just sidebar real quick to
Mhm.
talk about the fact that them village kids were out of pocket.
Look,
First of all,
rude,
he could
hyped up on
no,
Mountain Dew.
no, that when I say that is
No home training.
such a accurate representation of
Neighborhood
children, the
kids.
fact that the little kid was like sipping on coffee, and she says like that's why kids shouldn't drink coffee. Like I can tell you at 4 years old I was having breakfast and a small cup of bustelo. Like it's just ingrained from the get.
That's
So
incredible.
so like even that one-off little just sidebar where she's like, and that's why little kids shouldn't have coffee, already resonated with so many Latinos that are watching this because we grew up drinking coffee, even though everyone says coffee stunts your growth, coffee you shouldn't have coffee as a kid, but like that's not a thing in Spanish cultures.
No, you just drink it.
Yeah.
So after the song, the kids ask what's Mirabelle's gift, and she tries to dodge the question, but then it's revealed she didn't get one, like we said. And one of the mean ass kids go, "If I was you, I'd be really sad, man." Children are mean as shit, and like they just don't have that filter. They don't have that tact, man.
Hmm.
Look,
But I like it at the same time. That chaotic energy is just and fun to enjoy when it's not you.
yeah. When it's not
Yeah.
you, it's hilarious. But like
Hmm.
you can see on Mirabelle's face,
Mm.
like the thought crossed her mind of kicking this little girl. uh, but yeah, so next
Hurting
the
kids ain't so
families.
bad.
Oh, go
We said hurting kids ain't so bad.
ahead.
Well, and also, she's like writing on her family's last name,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
how many people, irrespective of what your background is, um, can associate with that, with like writing on
The
the
pressure.
accomplishments of everyone around you? Oh, well, I'm I'm a madrigal, so I must be special. Like, look at everyone else, and like
yeah.
your whole identity is somehow attached to everyone else's accomplishments because you don't have anything to say for yourself or show for yourself in that moment.
Yep. And
That's
the Encanto is the town. I think Encanto translates to enchantment, right?
mhm.
So like the town is the enchantment, but like the magic comes from that family. So they're the biggest deal in that town.
Mhm. Yep.
So and for Maribel not to have a gift, yeah,
Well, and she's the
therapy.
first one.
She's
She's
the
the
first
first
one.
one
Yeah.
since everyone her grandmother was bestowed the miracle
Mhm.
to have not
Gotten
presented
one.
with a gift.
And that's when we get to this next part with it's Antonio's turn to get the gift, and they're having a ceremony. They always have a ceremony for him where the gift is revealed when the casita, the house, the magical house, gives them their own room. We hear Abuela say, "If things don't go right tonight, it'll be hard for us all." And it's like at first you don't know why she says that, but then you kind of figure it out. And this is because Mirabelle didn't get her gift at her ceremony, and she worries that something's wrong with the miracle, like the magic. Then Peppa can't find Antonio though, but Mirabelle knew exactly where he was, and because I think they share a room, right? They both
Yep.
sleep in the nursery.
Because she didn't get her
She
own
didn't get her
room.
own room, so
Yeah.
she still sleeps in the nursery.
Mhm.
So she's real close to Antonio. So she knew that he was already under the bed, and she goes down there to talk to him and encourage him because he's worried, like, what if he doesn't get a gift? Since the last person to have a gift ceremony was Mirabelle, and she didn't get hers. And she's like, "No, I'm sure you'll get it, yada yada yada." So then we get to the scene where, all right, it's time to find out what his gift is, and Mirabella promised him that she'll be right there by his side, and she walks him up, and he turns the knob, and he does get a gift.
Yeah, but that walk, man,
Mhm. 'Cause
that was su like,
they both
it's
were
a walk of
nervous.
shame. It's a
Yeah,
walk of shame for her, though,
they both were
because
super anxious. Go
she's
ahead.
doing this walk a second time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
She did this whole walk once, it didn't work. Not only is she ashamed of the fact that it didn't work, everyone's looking at her side eye like, "What if your bad juju rubs
Yep,
off on him?"
yep.
Like, there was just, oh god. Oof. Mm-mm.
Yeah, like,
See, they started too early. Too early.
while the walk is happening, we get the flashback of her not getting her gift when she was little. Uh, but, flash forward, Antonio does get it, and, like, the door opens, and it's like a jungle full of animals, and, like, turns out his gift is the ability to talk to animals. So, yay for Antonio, but everyone's super excited for him, and the family piles in to get a picture, and nobody even notices that Maribel isn't with them. And instead, she's on the other side of the camera with all the guests, and we get this musical sequence where it's kind of like halfway in her own head, and like we see that she's happy for Antonio, but she feels like something's wrong with her because she's the only one that didn't get powers. And at the
And I
end
feel
of
like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like they did a really good job of, again, because I saw this going into it completely blind, like kind of seeing that it maybe bothered her ever so slightly with the first song, but
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
really showing her bravery and like her willingness to help her like that, to where I didn't even think about the fact that she was really feeling as left out as she was until this next
Hmm.
musical number came. So like I think they figured out a way to walk a very fine balance of like showing her being active and part of the family just so much that it seemed like she was kind of
She was cool.
okay with her role
Yeah.
until she had to be faced with it again.
Yeah.
And like
Because
you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do it, you're not a part of it, now you're just seeing the celebration,
then
and
she
then it
know
kind
because
of
right
hits her.
now she knows that it's
It's
not
her.
something wrong with the magic, it's her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the movie does a really good job to piggyback off that, showing her isolationism, right?
Yep.
In the sense of, the magic in the family is so exciting and enchanting, and everyone's so like encompassed with it. So that's the stuff that you think and is the forefront of what the village and even the family themselves kind of put like effort into.
Mhm.
But it's so important that they don't see the things that aren't happening,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah, so and, like, at the end of the song, she's in the middle of the house, and I don't know what to call that part of the house. Is that a courtyard? Not really courtyard,
It's like
but
a foyer.
yeah.
It's
yeah, I'll
like an
call it
open
for you.
foyer. Yeah.
So yeah, she's out in the open foyer like that, and everyone's still in partying inside of Antonio's room. So like all the guests and like pretty much everyone in the town, right? They're
Hmm.
Hmm.
inside Antonio's room, so they don't see her out there. And she starts to see the house start to crack, like the tiles start to fall and everything. And she runs back in scared, and she warns. She tells everyone, and Abuela tells her to show her what's going on. But when they all get back outside, no cracks. And now Mirabelle looked like a hater, right?
Yep. Yep. Like, look, she need to have the attention back on her.
Mhm.
And
That's exactly the way everyone looked at her.
Yeah,
yeah,
you a
they were
hater.
like, listen,
Mm.
just because you didn't get your thing doesn't mean you got to ruin this guy's. And it's like, wow.
It's
Like
not
And
your
it's crazy
day.
because we didn't see it yet, but thinking back on it, even when she found Antonio underneath the bed, she gifted him, a little stuffed like giraffe looking thing that she
yeah,
made or whatever. And it was like they're hinting at something
yeah.
there that we'll talk about later on. But it's
Mhm.
like, man, like the way that they just,
I didn't even notice that foreshadowing moment until I think, like, the 3rd time I saw it.
hmm
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, like
Mm.
I didn't
Mhm.
notice the foreshadowing moment of we don't talk about Bruno in the initial
Mhm.
song,
Yeah.
hmm
because I saw it completely without having any basis, as opposed to someone
Yeah.
like Denzel who saw it already knowing that this song was there and there's a thing. So like when
Mhm.
I saw it the second time, I was like,
Yeah.
like, damn, they told us from the get and we missed it.
I
So,
think this might have been the first time I watched it where I didn't notice something new. So it
mhm.
took me 4 or 5 watches to get there, and even then, I'm not totally sure, but we'll get to it.
They do a good job of cramming a lot of like things into scenes that are not obvious to like your normal sight, but
Yeah.
it's
Yep,
right in front of
Oh,
you.
yeah.
yep.
Especially in the songs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like the
Uh,
actions of what people are doing in the songs.
Hmm.
mhm. So now Mirabel can't sleep because of everything, and then she goes to the roof to kinda sneak up to Abuela's room where she could, like, inspect the miracle candle. Because it's like, "What's going on?" The magic's leaving or faltering or something. But as soon as she gets to the window, just out of sight, Abuela pops up, and, but she doesn't notice that, Mirabel's there, and she's talking to a little picture of Abuelo, the granddad, and, like, here it's revealed that she knew about the cracks, which is dirty when you think about how she acted with Mirabel. Uh,
Hmm.
she knew about the cracks, and she's worried that the magic is leaving the home again. All right. Then, like Mirabelle decides she's gonna find out what's going on and save the family and save the magic. But she has no idea what to do. So she starts out with her cousin Dolores, who can hear everything, which
I,
makes sense. But
I love her.
that's she's
I
my
love
favorite character.
Dolores.
Uh,
She's my, oh my gosh.
we'll get into it as it unfolds, but she's the best character. Uh, uh,
She's perfectly unperfect.
look,
Well, also like Mirabelle hearing the grandmother talk to the picture, like
hmm
maybe we wouldn't necessarily relate to that in like modern day in that exact scenario, but for me, like that watching that scene made me think of like how many times was I at my grandmother's house and she was having coffee with like some of the other ladies and they're gossiping and they don't even realize that I'm there because I'm just a kid,
so now
running
you're hearing
around.
shit that you're not
So
supposed to
now I'm
hear.
hearing all kinds of stuff that I'm not supposed to know. Or is she on the phone talking, to another lady gossiping?
It,
And again, I'm overhearing all this kind of stuff. Like it just, there's so many things in the movie that just continued
it's
to
funny
resonate
because
with
that's
stuff
how.
that happened.
Look, thinking back, that's how I learned so much stuff is hearing my mom run her mouth to somebody.
Exactly.
Hmm.
You learn
Hmm.
all the family secrets that way. You
That's
hear the
funny.
aunts talking to each other or the uncles or some
Mm.
older cousin. So that's why Dolores her going to Dolores is so perfect because I'm the like, third oldest cousin of the cousins in my group.
Mm.
And I know that like I used to go to the two older ones and be like, "Yo, did you know that so and so did such and such?" And
Oh man, that's funny. So the next day, she asks Dolores if she knows anything, and Dolores responds with, "The only one worried about the magic is you and the rats talking in the walls." And Louisa, I heard her eye twitching all night. Fucking Dolores. uh, so then we
The
get
shadiest.
a family meal. I couldn't tell if it was breakfast or lunch or what, but a family meal where we really see that like Abuela is the boss because she's like
Mhm.
addressing the family, and Mirabelle tries to get her sister Louisa to talk about what she may know about the magic and everything, and but like Abuela's still talking. So
Mhm.
we get that moment where she's like, Mirabelle, if you can't pay attention, I'll help you. And like immediately Casita, because I don't think we properly explained Casita. Like the house is magic, but it's also a character. Like it's sentient. Yeah, that's the word, sentient.
Yeah, that's a good
So
word.
every bit of the house can move.
Yeah, it's alive. It's
Yeah.
animated.
So and like it also conforms to Abuela's will. So all she said was what she say? Oh, Mirabelle, if you can't pay attention, I'll help you. And then she said Casita, and immediately the chair Mirabelle was in pulls back. Everyone all the other chairs scoot down to fill in, and then Mirabelle's brought right up to the head of the table next to Abuela, and then she cuts her eye at her. Like,
Is that the only thing that jumped out to you in that scene, as far as the grandmother's sort of control or authority over the family?
what'd you see?
If you watch very closely, when Abuela is like walking around the table initially talking, she
Mhm.
stops behind Isabel and picks out the one flower that's a different color than all the other flowers in her
Oh.
hair.
Damn.
I never caught that.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Like she demands perfection
And not
from
just
her at all
perfection, but
times.
like specifically Isabel, because she
Yes.
is like her, yes, her power is like flowers, creating flowers, but like she is the perfect one. She is the perfect
Mhm.
granddaughter. That like
Mhm.
that has to be a thing. Like, yes, everybody got to be perfect, but Isabella
Especially.
got yeah.
Yo,
She's the
I'm telling you,
prettiest.
go
She's
back
the
and look at
yeah.
that scene and you're gonna see. I can't remember if I think all the flowers in her hair are like pinkish purple to match her dress, and Abuela picks out the one white flower,
Mm,
or it's vice versa where they're all white and she picks
yeah.
out the one pink or purple. But I she picks out the one flower in her hair that does not conform with all the rest of them.
Oh, that's dope. I
Wow.
mean, it's dope that you noticed that. That's
It's a subtlety
yeah,
that happens when you've watched a movie 100 times. So
well a
yes.
while. Uh, but yeah, when Mirabelle gets a chance, she catches up to or she sees that Louise is already like on her way to help the people around the town. Oh, we also learned that like it's not as the family with all the magical powers, like Abuela makes them help out the town. Like it's their duty
Hmm.
to use their powers to better the town. Which I kind of get, but it also sucks because it falls under Umbrella's, Iron Fist.
Mhm.
I mean, I like it, establishing community service,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
servicing.
you might as well, right? Like you got all these powers.
Right.
These
You
people
you
live
have all the
next door.
power.
Yeah, might as well.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean,
great
even when
power.
they're in the first song, when they're talking about the powers that everyone has, you see like
You see them
Julieta, like
helping.
there's a line
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
people that are getting fed by her so that they can be healed. Like clearly
yeah.
they're not family members,
You
you know?
see,
So
Camilo. He turns into a mom to
mhm.
help.
To take
What?
the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's a hoot. But yeah. So like this is when we get Luisa's song "Pressure," where we learn that though she has super strength, she's under a lot of pressure to be as strong as the family in the town needs her to be. But last night, when Mirabelle said the cracks were happening, she felt weak for just a moment. So now
Mhm.
she's like on top of the regular pressure of having to make sure she's there for the town and everybody. Now she's scared because she never felt weak before, or at least since she had the powers, right?
Yeah, since she's had the powers, she hasn't felt weak before, but she didn't she I feel like she had to have felt a moment of weakness, something, because she knew that something
Yeah,
was going on with the
yeah, because
house
it
beyond just that
happened.
one time. It happened like once before or something.
Oh, okay.
I have to go back and correct my, like, make sure I'm being
Mhm.
accurate. But yeah, um that song,
Yeah. Oh,
Surface
yeah,
Pressure.
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
The second time I watched is when I realized that like the donkeys she was carrying back to their stable
Are
or
dancing.
whatever are
Hmm.
dancing because and yeah, you
Yeah.
see them like falling,
Hmm.
when she's doing her thing, but at some point they become her backup dancers too.
Yes,
Man,
they're
I was
doing a
weak.
full-on choreography. Full-on
Like I was
choreography.
like,
I
how did
just
I miss that the first time that the donkeys are
I loved it because it's Lin
Lin
Manuel
yeah,
Miranda,
Lin
right?
Manuel Miranda, yeah.
And him being a Puerto Rican, born and raised in the Heights or whatever like that, always you can always tell when
We're gonna do
Lin
that
Manuel
movie soon
Miranda
too.
touches something,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, he has a style.
he has a style,
Yeah.
and it comes from, at least from what I can tell, being influenced by hip hop and salsa and
Mm,
reggaeton and like all
Hmm.
these different sounds that you hear
mm.
being a native New Yorker. And so the first time I heard it, I recognized songs that he sampled from that were part of the song. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, of course it's him. And like, the whole soundtrack is forget about
We got to get you back for the In the Heights episode.
it.
But yeah,
I saw that when it was a play. I love In the Heights.
Wow.
Yeah.
so you're a fan. You're a real fan.
I'm a real fan, yes.
Hamilton.
Hamilton, I saw it on Broadway when he was playing Hamilton
I'm not a
before
Hamilton
it got
fan, but
released
I'm not
on
gonna
Disney Plus.
sit.
Listen, but that's my thing, right? Like Lin Manuel Miranda, I'm not a history person.
Mm,
That man made it enjoyable for me to learn history. Like it's
yeah,
crazy.
not knocking it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I went just real quick sidebar. I saw Hamilton with somebody, and there's a part in Hamilton that is a direct sample from a hip hop song,
Mm.
Hmm.
where everyone goes, and if you don't know, now you know. And obviously, as soon as I heard the first part of it, I finished the rest of that line, and the person next to me was like, "Oh, have you seen this before?" And I was like, "What?
Shut up.
You
Do you not know what's happening?
how did you not catch that reference?" So I just love him because he always, I feel, gives me these little references and these little hints that let me know, even if this is the first time hearing it, I'm not new to this. That's just my point.
Nah, I love it. I
That's dope.
think as someone who's read one of the Aaron Burr books
Mhm.
and doing a whole like 20-page paper on it, it definitely brought back all those memories,
Mhm.
but in a positive way because he
Yeah.
really did make it so entertaining. Because the story's good. It's a really interesting story when you kind of like get into the weeds,
Mhm.
but you don't want to read it. Like you have no interest in it because you hear the people in it. It's like I don't want to know nothing about that. And he just really brought it to life. So that I've only watched Hamilton like maybe once, like one and a half times. But the one
Mhm.
time I did watch it, it was just like it really stood out. It
Yeah.
really stood out.
Yeah. He's good for that.
Yeah.
I'm the cornball that only likes Moana and Encanto and In the Heights. But
It's okay. It's fine.
thank you.
We'll talk about some stuff that I think is in the works towards
Okay.
the end of
All right.
the session.
So yeah, after her song, she tells Mirabelle that if anyone might be able to help, she should look into Uncle Bruno who left the family. I think I missed. I don't know if they explained it or maybe I missed how Louisa got to that conclusion, but it
Well, I
probably goes
think
into
it
what you said before that she's already been thinking about it
well that, but also you have to remember that Luisa and Isabella are
or
older.
older, so
Right.
they have a better
They
So
have
memory
context.
of
she
yeah,
might remember when Bruno was around
yeah,
before he dipped and why. Because obviously when we get the why, we realize, okay, like
yeah,
it couldn't have been that long ago that he dipped.
yeah.
So
That makes sense. All right. And then next, Mirabelle enters Bruno's room, and like we see, like the entrance has like falling sand, and she asks
mhm.
Casita for help immediately. Casita's like outside the door. I don't know if she's like a floor tile or something. Uh,
Mhm.
he doesn't actually talk, but however, whatever movements and stuff does with like the tiles and stuff, they kind of understand what the house is saying, right? But
Yeah.
Casita was like, "Nah, I can't go in there. You got it."
Yep.
So she goes forward through the sand, and then she climbs all these stone stairs, and then has to swing across the canyon like Indiana Jones and stuff. And then she ends up in getting locked into a chamber. And in there,
Mhm.
she finds like these glowing broken pieces of glass that come together to
Mhm.
form Bruno's last vision.
Mhm.
And she asks, what's ruining the magic? And then she sees herself in the glass, and then the stand starts falling for some reason, and so she has to get out. She makes her escape, and then she falls out of Bruno's room. She runs into Abuela, and she had just saw like when the sand started falling while Mirabelle was in Bruno's room, Abuela also saw like the candle's flame start to flicker, so she knew something was up. And so now here's Mirabelle coming out of Bruno's room. Well, she didn't see that she was in Bruno's room, but she just popped up and she had like sand on her and she was looking real disheveled. And
Mhm.
so she's like, what you doing? Like she already feels some type of way about Mirabelle, right? But then Louisa pops up crying, saying like she couldn't lift something. So she's having a breakdown about that. And Abuela immediately is like, Mirabelle, like, fuck you doing?
Yeah.
So Mirabelle goes back to her room, the
Mhm.
nursery, and on Peppa pops up. Tia Peppa pops up because I think she's like moving out
She's pulling all
Antonia's
the clothes
clothes.
out of the drawer,
Yeah,
yeah.
uh, and
Which
but
is oh god, it's such a
she was
Spanish thing,
already in like
right?
a she was
Like, he
already in a
lives in his own room now, and she's still over here doing his laundry, like, "Get your life."
look. But as usual, or well, you don't know if you haven't seen the movie, but she's
Mhm.
always like kind of in a tizzy for some reason.
Frazzled.
Yeah, so she already had a cloud over her, and this shit is hilarious because uh Mirabelle asks her about Bruno, and she's like, "We don't talk about Bruno. Like, girl, get away from me, right?"
Mhm.
But then her husband Felix just busts in the room, and he's like, "Look, we really need to tell her about Bruno. Like, we might as well. She has to know."
I love him.
this
I love him
this dude,
so
like,
much.
one, where'd he come from? Two,
I
I can't. I don't know if I can properly put into words how funny it is to me that because remember he doesn't have powers. He married into the family, right?
Yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I can't really explain it, but the fact that the uncle that married into the family is halfway sick of their shit.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
He's like, "Look, let's just tell her like she has to know." Uh, so now we
But
get the. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and he's also like, even though he's sick of this shit, he's also like such a source of positivity.
Oh yeah, like he's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
yeah,
Like,
he loves the family. Don't get me wrong. Like this is it's like he's always on board, especially when Abuela's around. Like he's a Martian
uh,
he's a soldier too. But it's like in this like one moment he got it in where he's like, nah, you she needs to know about Bruno.
and to me, it wasn't even a like she needs to know like for her safety or because she's part of the family.
Yeah.
To me, it was she needs to know because I can't keep my mouth shut. Like
Exactly.
he
That's how
comes
I felt.
across to me as a
Can't hold
chismoso,
water.
and a chismoso is a gossip. And it's like and it's the kind of gossip specifically where like you normally want to put that trait or that characteristic on women, but like at least for Latin American
you
countries, the men,
You saying this look,
woo,
not even just Latin America, man, like, I can look, black men too old black sassy old black men? Oh
yes,
my
like
god.
they
Imma say
want to
this 'cause
gossip
I'm
so
I'm
bad.
sure he's not gonna listen to this, but my father-in-law is the biggest gossip I know. Like, he'll come over to talk to me about grass, and then he'll see somebody drive by and be like, "Yeah, they son hooked on crack, it's a shame." Like
Yeah.
My goodness.
Like everything about his energy tells me that like he spends late afternoons sitting in front of a window, sipping on coffee, watching the neighborhood so that he can get all of his information to turn around and talk about it the next day.
oh,
Like that's the
man.
energy he gave. So to me, when he came in and he was like, "No, we need to talk about this," because he was excited to finally like have someone that doesn't know so that he can
So,
talk about it
look,
because it's like bursting out of him.
you might be onto something. And then his daughter is Dolores, who
Yes.
Hmm.
yeah, she hears everything, but also can't keep her mouth shut. So
Yep.
it's in her blood.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
funny. Good catch. So yeah, now we get the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song, and the sense you get from the song. I mean, it's a great song, so it's kind of hard to follow, but they're basically saying like anytime he's around, like bad shit will start to happen, and he would give he would tell the future, and it's, oh, goldfish is gonna die, and then the goldfish dies, and like, but they made it seem like it's always his fault, or anytime
Yes.
he comes around, it bad things are gonna happen because he's around, as opposed to him just saying, "Hey, it's gonna happen," you know? Also, other people start to join in on the song. It's not just the 3 of them, like, Dolores has
The whole
a
village.
verse and Camilo has a verse, and, like, when Dolores I didn't write this down, but Dolores's little part in the song, she says she hears him, uh, she hears him and he's, like, falling sand, and you see him in the background dancing.
You
Yeah.
see you doing a little show. Well, first off, like shout out to again, this is going to be a recurrent theme. Shout out to Lin Manuel
Mhm.
um, for understanding that Dolores's character was being voiced by Adasa, and she is a reggaeton artist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um, out of Colombia. Dolores's character is let me get her right name so that I don't mess this up. Um or yeah, she just goes by Adasa. I didn't know she had a last name.
Yeah,
But she is a reggaetonera. And so he specifically gave her like a beat, and she's kind of like half rapping it or whatever like that when
yeah.
she's talking. So it's already a cha-cha, but then it
Yeah,
switches up. Yeah, it switches up to a syncopated beat to allow for her verse,
that's
and
dope.
you just see him like vibing in the back because it's such a tight verse to begin with, but it's so great to see it in the background. And it's just, I don't know, he just knew how to play to the strengths of the people. I mean, even same thing with Felix's character is voiced by a Colombian salsa
Mhm.
artist,
Oh, yeah,
and
Felix
so
was up in
that's
there
why
dancing.
he was dancing, and you hear like in the beginning like his voice when he's singing, he's talking about like it was a joyous day, like, and that's why I
Mhm.
was saying he's such a happy person. Here's Peppa, and she's just focused on all the things that went wrong, and
Yeah.
here he is talking about the same day, and he was like, what a joyous day,
He's
and
like,
like
he's like, "It was a horrible day, there was a hurricane," and he was like, "It's the happiest day in my life."
exactly. But yeah, all the village starts to come in and show all of their examples of stuff, and it's like, at what point did those become self-fulfilling prophecies, like the
Yeah,
gut,
yeah.
versus
He said, "I'll
yeah,
be
you
fat," and
balled
then I
it
got
and it
fat.
was gonna happen. Yeah. um I'm gonna come back to this song later because it's something that I didn't notice
Till your 37th
the
watch.
first yeah, the first few times that I watched it, and I heard the song, and it finally, well, I noticed it, but I noticed it one way, and then thinking on it later, I realized it was the opposite. But I feel like if I talk about it now, it kind of jumps ahead. So
No,
I'm gonna come
when you're
back to
ready.
this song later.
So next, after we don't talk about Bruno, then Mirabelle's dad walks in on her looking at the vision, and he immediately, I guess he recognized what that was, and she tries to hide it at first, and even Casita kind of tries to help her out, but he already saw it. So she confesses she broke into Bruno's tower, and the magic is fading, and she thinks it's all because of her. And her dad, being a great dad, he pockets the vision, the pieces of glass, and he tells her, "Look, just stay quiet about it, and nobody has to know, because the Guzmans are coming, and it's going to be a big deal dinner, and everything has to be perfect, but nobody got to know about this. All right, this is just our little secret." And then they turn, look out the door, and across the foyer, Dolores done heard everything.
And has the deer in headlights like expression.
Man, and, like, it's so funny, like, they just immediately knew, like, they didn't say it, but it was just like, "Oh, shit."
Fuck.
Yeah.
Of
Yes.
all the people. So, now we're at the dinner, and the Guzmans are it's another family from the town, but the son, what's his name, Manolo or,
Um, Mariano.
Mariano. Mariano is going to propose to Isabella, Mirabelle's older sister, the perfect one. and like it was going to happen at night. That's why everything has to be perfect. And
And it's
we,
also, like, so creepy because it's, like, a prearranged thing, like, it was
yeah,
something that was
yeah,
puppeted by the grandmother,
hmm,
Abuela, and, like, Mariano's family or whatever like that. He's, like, the local heartthrob
yeah. Because it's
in the
not even
village,
like they
and
had like in real life it would be like two powerful families or whatever, right? There's only one powerful
yeah,
family here, right? But it's
exactly.
just that
But
that's the prettiest nigga around, right? And she the
yep,
prettiest girl.
exactly, and she's perfect, and so she has to have a perfect husband, and it's going to be
So
a
they can have some
good,
perfect babies.
joining. Exactly, it's so creepy how it's all puppeted between the grandmother and the mother.
Yeah,
Um,
Guzman,
yeah.
Miss Guzman. So yeah, and like the tensions are super high because half the table knows shit that is about to hit the fan, or shit might hit the fan, and when everything's supposed to be just right for Isabella to like she's about to get proposed to, and then everything that goes wrong that could go wrong does, and everybody blames Mirabelle. Like a whole bunch of hijinks happen at the same time. Freaking Mariano, Uncle Felix spits water on Mariano. Uh,
Because
Dolores,
no, but that scene is so great. It's so great how she is like how Mirabelle is just
she's
staring,
yeah she's
boring into the back of Dolores's head, like,
like
you better not
don't
say
don't
nothing.
say it,
You
don't
better keep
do
your
it.
mouth shut. And every time an entree passes and breaks that concentration,
She
in
tells
the
somebody.
split second it takes for the entree or the bowl of salad or whatever to pass, the minute it's passed, you see that she's already done told somebody, and you see their reaction to it. And it's so like, man, it's so like I was so
She
stressed
tells
at that moment.
Camilo. Camilo flips out and like he goes through like three faces and then he settles on that fucking face. And Felix turns to him and is like, Camilo, fix your face. And then he tells his dad, and then his dad spits the
Hmm.
water on Mariano. And,
Yep.
and you see when it happens, I think the grandma, like, she doesn't know exactly what's happening. She just knows shit's going wrong. She immediately pours more wine into the glass.
Yeah. She's like, drink up, you guys, everything is fine.
Everything's good. Everything's
And
good.
then like and
Pepper's
then when
cloud
Mirabelle
grows.
realizes, yep,
Yeah,
when
every
everything's going
Everything
back,
that
when
could go
Mirabelle
wrong.
realizes that like the pieces came out of the dad's pocket,
yep.
she tries to distract them with like, oh,
Mhm.
before we propose, there should be a song. And then they tell Louisa to go get the piano.
She starts
Louisa
crying.
Louisa just falls out and starts crying, which no one has ever seen her do
Mhm,
because she's the strong, silent type.
mhm.
And then like a crack starts to form, and like Mirabelle throws herself on the ground and like positions herself,
And
like,
all
oh,
this
please
happens in like
proceed.
6 seconds. It's the funniest thing.
Oh god, it's the
So
perfect example of if it could go wrong, it will go wrong.
mhm. And so all that happens, and then on top of that, rats are carrying the shards of the vision away.
Mhm.
And so Mirabelle goes and chases the rats. And so all that's happening. Mirabelle goes and chases the rats. Oh, sorry. The Guzmans leave crying, and Abuela's super pissed. Then the rats steal the shards, and she chases them,
Mhm.
and she follows them behind the painting, and now she's inside the wall, and
Mhm.
then she sees somebody
Mhm.
in a like a hooded figure, and she starts chasing, and like she realizes that's her Uncle Bruno, and it's like, what's Bruno doing in the walls? Turns out this nigga lived in the walls. Nigga ain't never left. And this shit was so funny to me. Like, I mean, it was fun. It's tragic when we really get into it, but it was so funny. Like, he had a whole setup,
Oh my
Right.
god,
and he
a
said,
whole setup.
"She's like, what you doing back here?" And he's like, "Well, this is a great spot because it's right near the kitchen." And then, like, you learn. I don't know if he says it or if you notice this when you go back and you watch it again. but he can look through the eye holes in the painting. So it's
Mhm.
like, so he's at dinner too.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
doesn't say it. It's what happens is she looks down at the table and she sees that he's drawn
yeah, he's
a
drawing his
picture
own.
of a plate with his name on it, and
Mhm.
there's like a light shining down.
Yeah,
And she realizes that light is coming from the tape. So, like, he's been sitting down having dinner
dinner
with the
with
rest of the
them.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, like, no, we can't go into this scene and just skip over the pack when he when she's like, "Who's been fixing the cracks?"
oh
And
yeah, and he has putty.
and he's like, it's not me. It's been Eduardo or
It's
like
been
whatever the
Eduardo.
name
Whatever
is.
the name is.
And he just flips like, yo, this man has lost his mind.
Yeah,
He has split personalities now that he's entertaining
but
himself with
he
beyond the
also
rats.
he says he's kind of an actor because like he what's the word? Not novellas, but like he has these little the rats put on. He and the
No,
rats
that's
put on a
it's
show, right?
yeah, it's like a novella though. It's like a little puppet show, but dead ass. It's like the equivalent of novellas for us, which everyone grew up with their family watching, their grandparents watching novellas
Mm.
or whatever. So it's so perfect.
So it was Eduardo. Goofy, but yeah,
Love it. I love it. No, I mean that's the point where we
yeah,
figure out that he's been there, and the
yeah.
reason that he left,
And
right,
like he
was because
tells
he.
her, yeah, he tells her that she wasn't supposed to see the vision. Also,
Yeah.
that his gift wasn't helping the family. So like that's yeah. And he had the vision the night that she didn't get her gift. And when Abuela asked him to see the future because she was worried about the magic, he saw like the vision was shifting, and it was like the house cracking and Mirabelle was in front of it, but sometimes the cracks would disappear if you hold it up, like kind of like one of them little holographic cards or whatever.
Mhm.
So he decided to leave because they would see that vision and see Mirabelle in front of the cracked house, and everybody would blame her. So he left to protect Mirabelle. No,
Bro,
right?
this whole thing hurt, right?
Left, air
Yeah.
quotes.
And
Yeah.
not even that though, but like even going back to the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song, like
Hmm.
how dismissive, like they could, like, that is a family member, and this is like we don't
Yes.
even, like, they just shove it under the rug, like we don't talk
But
about
that's
that,
that's
like,
it's a thing though, right? Like
oh
Yeah.
I'm not I
It's a
god.
don't know about
theme.
y'all's family. I don't even know if I actually have, but it's enough of a thing that we all get the idea of that family member we don't talk about. Whatever they
Mhm.
did or didn't
Mhm.
do, like we
I
Over
am the
there now.
oldest. I'm about to put some real ish out there. Let me tell you why this movie means so much to me.
hmm
I am the third oldest cousin. My second oldest cousin, unfortunately, had a bad run in with some chemical substances when he was in high school,
hmm
and as a result of it became bipolar.
yeah,
When I tell you my aunt completely, like, severed his connection to our entire family to the point where he ultimately ended up becoming a ward of the state of California, and none of us have any contact with him, and no one talks about, he's we'll just call him our Bruno. No one talks about him in the family except for me and my mother. We're the
that's
only
rough.
ones that are be like, yo, so it was Bruno's birthday. Like, has anyone thought about trying to figure out how we can get in contact with him? Like, so it touched to a core, like, memory and an issue that I have in my own family, in the way that people can just
Be
pretend that
written
someone
off.
never even,
Yeah,
yeah, like, just erased from history.
it's
It's
so
crazy.
sad.
It's
Yeah.
so real.
So then Bruno and Mirabelle decide, or I'm skipping over the part when Antonio shows up and he's like, "Yeah, the rats told me everything." But Bruno and Mirabelle, at what point did the rats tell him everything? Did they tell him in that moment, or like as soon as he got his powers and he start talking to all the animals, they're like, "Yo,
It had to be when he got his powers. Because he seemed that he like knew
yeah, he
all
already
along, but he
knew,
just didn't
right?"
really care to tell nobody.
Yeah, like no one talked because he's the baby. Like no one just talks to him about
Yeah,
stuff.
he was like,
And
"Oh,
Mhm.
okay,
okay, cool. There's a dude in the walls. All right, uh,
right,
which is also a very childlike thing to do. Just all
right.
right,
Mhm.
just accept it.
Mhm.
That's neat info." Anyway,
Yeah, like the gravitas of it all doesn't affect them. Anyway, yeah. So they decide to try and get Bruno to have another vision, and at first it ends up being the same, but eventually they see Mirabelle hugging somebody, and it turns out that it's her perfect sister Isabella. And Mirabelle is pissed. She's like, "What do I gotta what? Like she has to be the one to save it?" And Bruno's like, "Nah, like you guys got to hug, but it depends on you. Like you got to be the one to figure this out."
Right, and like at that point, she's thinking about her sister, and you know she's seeing things from the lens of everything that Isabella has in comparison to everything that she doesn't have,
Yeah,
right? There's
like
animosity built in, there's been constant comparison. Why
mhm.
can't you be more like Isabel? You're ruining this engagement for
Also,
Isabel.
to be fair, in defense of Mirabelle here, Isabella kind of like we see her be mean to her, or at least like
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like snobbish to
yeah,
her, right?
Yeah, she was
So
like, don't ruin this tonight. Like
yeah.
So I kind of get it, but it also doesn't help that like Isabel is the pretty one, and
Mhm.
like Mirabelle's not ugly, but she's kind of nerdy looking. She wears
Yep.
glasses. Like you see,
Mhm.
like Isabella has like the pointed nose, but Mirabelle's is kind of wide, and like there's like Mirabelle is not ugly, but like you see her in comparison to the perfect sister, and you can see how all of this is just like, damn, she's like, I gotta hug her.
I will say, I know Lolo's ready to go in.
Mhm.
It is also dictated by how Abuela is putting
Yes.
effort in,
Yeah.
who's who and the importance
Yeah,
of
like
who's
this
who.
is the pretty one. Like Abuela
Right.
designated her as the pretty one. Like even it's not just her being pretty, but the fact that Abuela addresses it, like makes it known that this is the perfect grandchild, which
And this is the imperfect one.
yeah, and
So
this
we
is
are
the
to ignore her.
perfect one. You're right. It does have a lot to do with the Abuela in the background.
But it also has to do with a very clever and specific way that they were animated. It's no
Hmm.
coincidence
Mm.
that they gave Isabella more Eurocentric features,
Yeah, her hair is
straight,
straight
long,
hair,
flowing hair,
pointed
a
nose.
slender nose,
Mhm.
slender body type. That was done on purpose
Look.
because an underlying theme, irrespective of where you are, if you're outside of the,
Mhm.
European countries or like that, is this idea of colorism and this idea of what is a beauty standard, and beauty standards having
Eurocentric
always
beauty
been
standards.
dictated
Yep.
by Eurocentric beauty standards. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
you've got Mirabelle. She's short. She's got naturally curly hair. She's like a little frumpy. She's got a wide nose. She has to wear glasses.
Mhm.
Like all these things that are contrary to what you would expect from and the
And on the
grandmother's
flip side, this bitch shit
enforcing.
flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Grandmother's enforcing these Eurocentric beauty
Mm,
standards,
mm.
and so
Yeah,
Very well put.
it gets
Very
real
well
deep.
put.
Yeah. Thank you, Lola. uh,
okay, just
yeah,
telling you, I will talk on this
woosah,
for days.
woosah. Uh,
I'm trying. I'm breathing.
so Mirabelle goes to Isabella's room, and Isabella is still pissed about Mirabelle ruining dinner. Shit, it might be the same night. I'm not sure, or the next day. Mirabelle ruined the dinner and tells her to apologize, and Mirabelle is like, I'm not even sure if she says it or not. If she's just like, I'm sorry, but it definitely wasn't genuine. She was mad as
Oh
shit
no, she
about it.
does. I'm I'm sorry that your life is so perfect. Like, she She tried so hard,
she
like,
tried to
to
hold it
be the
in.
bigger person. Like, okay, if I just need to hug her and everything
Mhm.
will be fine. So,
But
but then it was just like,
look,
nah, this is too
I'm
much.
I'm not a girl, I don't have any sisters, but this sister moment was so
So
well
real.
done, like, so real.
So real. So real.
Like like, Isabella, like, she knew that Mirabelle wouldn't wanna apologize. So
Hmm.
she was like she did the one thing that would just make her pissed off, and that's how she was getting back at her. And Mirabelle tried, didn't
She
make it.
tried.
Oh, man. So they start to argue, and then Isabella, instead of a flower, creates a cactus. And like Mirabelle's still going in, and she doesn't think twice about it. But like Isabella stopped, and she's like, "Yo, I've never made this before." She's like real intrigued about this cactus, and even when she touches it, it pricks her, and then it grows, and she's mesmerized by that too. And like then we learn like Isabella doesn't like being perfect. She finally starts to actually like respond back to Maribel at this point. She doesn't like being perfect, and she was only going to marry because it was a good look for the family, and it's what Abuela wanted. Uh,
So,
yeah,
remember I told you that I had this revelation
yeah,
about we don't talk about Bruno.
yeah,
So the
Yeah.
first few times that I watched it, when we got to Isabella's part, right, the music changes, right? It's
yeah,
just her voice. It's coming across almost with this sort of like angelic, she's coming down
yeah.
on this swing and everything like that.
The
And
flower swing.
immediately my first, guttural reactions was like, here comes this perfect ass fucking bitch. Everyone's talking about how they've gotten all these negative predictions, and Bruno told her that she's gonna have all these
That her
powers,
powers would
everything is
grow.
gonna be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
like she's gonna have this perfect life. Like, go F you. And then it
My
and
goldfish died. I got fat. I
I'm
lost my
bald,
hair.
I'm fat.
Your power's just going to get stronger, and you'll continue to
Yeah.
be pretty.
And then it hit me that, again, like we said,
Yeah,
there's been a negative
yeah,
connotation to all of his things. And so
and
him telling her that
that was
was
negative
almost,
to her.
yes,
Yeah.
it was negative to her, and it was almost the opposite. Like,
Mhm.
she thought that like her powers were going to grow, and yet here she was stuck having to do the same perfect, plants and shrubs and all this stuff each and every day and constantly be perfect. And it was like he told me this almost like to mock me, because like I got my hopes up, but here I am years later still doing the same stuff, and I haven't created anything new. My powers haven't grown anything. And I thought like, wow, mind blown, because I never saw that
That's a great catch.
the first
Yeah.
time. Like the first time I was just like, this perfect ass little bitch. And then I was like, yo, she was suffering too,
Yeah.
because he told her all this information and it never came to fruition. And it was almost like, hot psych,
Dang. That's a real good catch. All right, Lola. Let me
I
find
love
out you
this
watch other
movie.
movies like this.
I really don't know that I do, but I love this movie so much.
Well, you gotta. We'll make a cinephile out of you. You gotta stick your pinky out when you say that. But you can't say
Yeah.
that too much because people don't know what that word means. So
And
you
he
can't be
sounds a
running
lot
around being like,
like
I'm a
another kind of
cinephile.
file.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
Ain't that side.
that's one of my favorite meme. I guess it's not a meme, it's a tweet. And it was like, hey bro, stop calling yourself a cinephile. You're scaring all the bitches. Uh but yeah,
Ugh.
so she's super intrigued by the cactus, yada yada. And then that's when we get the song, What Else Can I Do?
What else
Because
can I
making
do?
imperfect plants is exciting for her, right? It's a new change of pace.
Mm-hmm.
And during the song, this shit took me out. During the song, Abuela looks up and sees Maribel and Isabella dancing on the damn roof, making all these ugly flowers and shit.
Having the time of their
All these ugly
lives.
plants. And she rushes back to the house, pissed.
You know what I liked about that
Go
scene though?
ahead.
It made me think a little bit of the Holly
Yeah, yeah,
festivals,
yeah,
right? With all
Oh,
the
okay.
colors exploding or whatever like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even though this was taking place in Colombia
Mhm.
and has all these strong ties, like from a
It's
visual perspective,
it
they
still was a
found
nice
ways to
touch.
make it yeah, relatable beyond
Mhm.
just having, coming from a Spanish or Hispanic or Latinx
Yeah.
background because
'Cause Holly
it
Festival is
was
Indian, right?
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Indian. It was
Yeah.
fun, it was beautiful, it was colorful, it was
Yeah.
vibrant, like
And, like,
I
she
just love that
gets
scene for that.
like, the color, the I guess, what's it it's like colorful powder or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's
It's almost
popping
like
up everywhere. Like, it was coming out the flowers, and she w like, when
pollen,
she yeah,
pollen. It's like
pollen, you're
colorful
right.
Yeah,
pollen.
yeah.
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 So she was
Mhm.
kicking it everywhere, and, like, it got all over her dress and in her hair, and now she has, like, part green hair, and, like, she's loving it. Abuela, though, Abuela,
Yeah, no, she
Not a
was not
fan.
having it.
oh man, so Abuela confronts. She runs back to the house. She confronts Maribel, and Maribel tries to tell her that the candle was burning brighter when her and Isabella were doing their thing. Abuela shuts it down. She says everything is because of Maribel. Everyone's losing their gifts because of you. The house is cracking because of you. And Maribel hits back saying, no matter what she does, she'll never be good enough for her. Her being Abuela, and everybody else is hurting trying to live up to her standards, and it's not Mirabel's fault. It's Abuela's fault that the magic is dying. And like when they're fighting though, like you see, like Isabel don't say nothing in the background, like
Ooh,
nobody else is
I'm
saying
so
anything because,
angry.
but everybody is like almost terrified of Abuela, like or at least not specifically Abuela, but like they're terrified of not like of going against her will. Like
No,
every
she's the author she's
yeah.
the
She's the glue,
matriarch.
quote
She's the
unquote.
matriarch of the family, so
Mhm.
she is
Yeah.
the authority figure. But like how you going to have this
You you this
like
big
there's
revelation,
this
this
understanding building an animosity
mhm.
between Mirabelle and Isabella, and they finally have this beautiful breakthrough and this whole bonding moment. And this is her older sister. She's like finally understanding and realizing and like looking up to her and everything like that. And here's your first opportunity to be an older sister and
Mhm.
like say something, say anything, and just nothing, crickets. And I'm like, nah, son, I'm not okay with that.
But I also get it too because it's what the standard was, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
how things were.
Well, and
And
it's a show of respect, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to respect your elders, but I
Mhm.
feel like if I remember correctly, like the mom had said something once before to the grandmother Julieta, but very low key.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Mirabelle's
Yeah,
trying or something like that,
she was sticking up for her.
yeah, so like the mom said, within the limits of what she can say because that is her mother,
Yeah.
right? And like she can't be disrespectful to her mother, but she said something. So that's why I'm like,
I think
yo, Isabel, like you couldn't have said anything
it was like
because I know
back
she
with
said
the
something afterwards, but when they
yeah,
were planning
the ceremony.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, she said something,
or the dinner.
again, low key, nothing crazy, but something just to show
Yeah.
that like she's sticking up for her daughter. And I just feel like
And
Isabel
like
could have said
Abuela was kind
something.
of just like, well, she need to not get in the way. Something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel you. But nah, Isabella was in the background, stone face, like not stone
quiet,
face, but she was quiet. Like it's
quiet.
that like, oh, I'm about to get a beating too. Like you for like,
Yeah. Don't
you
loop me in.
you and your siblings got in trouble, and like your brother getting cussed out, and you try not to make a noise so you don't get one too.
Mm.
But
I
yeah,
don't. I'm the oldest, so I guess
you
I
the
don't
one
know
getting
that
cussed
life because
out.
I was gonna get beat up regardless. Yeah, like it was always gonna come back on me anyways. If they did something, like it's coming back on me, so I might as well speak my truth.
I got you.
I'm also the oldest, so I get that.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm the only one. So
So you're the oldest and the youngest. I get
look,
it.
everything. But yeah, so while they're fighting, the candle starts to go out and the house starts to crack and collapse like it's a wrap. And Mirabelle charges for the candle, which isn't easy because like it's on the third floor. And Isabella charges and Camilo charges, but they don't make it. Like, and Casita's trying to help them like along the way, but the Casita is the house, and the house is collapsing. The magic is dying, so it can't. It can only do so much, and like most of it was trying to save. because Isabella and Camila both like jumped and missed, and like it saved them, but like it couldn't keep everybody, going at the same time while it's also falling apart. But Mirabelle actually makes it, but it's too late. The house falls, crumbles, and she gets to the candle, but like the flame goes out, whole house falls apart.
You know what I love about that scene?
What's up?
I love that it shows that at the end of the day, they had become so dependent or reliant on their gifts
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
when their gifts weren't working,
Mm.
they didn't know how they couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
You
and
know, and like the
Exactly.
only one that was able to get to it was the one person who didn't have
didn't
any
have a gift.
gifts.
Yeah,
And so she had to, she just had to do it
because you
for
saw
herself
you
instead
saw
of
Camilo
relying on
like
try
mid
to.
jump, he turned into like a
Mhm.
tall man, and he still
Yep.
couldn't make it. And like Isabella was trying
Yep.
to swing on her vines, couldn't make it. But Mirabelle knew how to get up. Yeah, you're right. That's dope.
Yeah, that goes to whole the all goes towards what we are talking about earlier too, in the sense of like that reliant
Hmm.
Yeah,
and how that was how the ship was kind of operated.
yeah, and but yeah, the flame goes out. It's dust on everyone, rubble everywhere, and Mirabelle runs away into the mountains. Then we get Abuela tracks Mirabelle out into the jungle and finds him open by a river. And Mirabelle apologizes, trying to for trying to be something she's not. And Abuela tells her this is the river where the miracle was given to them, and she's never been back because it's also the river where her husband died or was killed. Then we get a flashback to the song,
Dos orgullitos.
Yes.
which translates to two caterpillars.
Correct.
Yeah, and then the second verse is two butterflies, mariposas, right?
Hmm.
Eh,
Correct. I see
I
you.
know three
I see
Spanish
you.
words.
I
uh,
think you got four today. I think you got four.
all
Hmm.
We'll
right,
give you that extra one.
That song. That song breaks my heart.
Man, look. So whatever. This is a podcast. You overshare on it. After I saw the movie initially, it was around Christmas time or January, or whatever. Like all I was listening to in that time, like for like a 2 week period, was the Encanto soundtrack and the In the Heights soundtrack. It's funny that
Wow.
like they came out the same year, so I just bounced between the two. But anytime I got to this song, like I work a good ways away and have to go across a bridge tunnel. And like it would always come out or start playing when I'm like on the bridge going across the water. And I'm like, God damn, so you're tearing up on
Got you
my way to
in the
work.
mood.
Like, don't do this. And I'm mariposa. Don't you
No me
hold on too tight.
aguantas ya. I love that they had the foresight also
Hmm.
to re-record the song in English.
Yeah,
Like I
Hmm.
yeah.
love that they
During
gave
the
us both
movie,
the
it's Spanish, and
yes,
then you hear the English version in the credits. Yeah.
yes. And I love
Mm.
that. I love that they actually like they gave us a song in Spanish in the
Yeah.
main movie instead of
Hmm.
doing it the other way.
Yeah.
And but also still gave the song in English so that kids could understand what's being
Hmm.
said, and
Yeah.
adults obviously, but
And like me.
this is billed for kids.
But yeah.
This is supposed to be for kids, but
Mm. Look, this. I mean, yeah, you can. This and what's the other one? Soul. Like, it's
yeah,
hard to make an argument that Soul is for children, other than it looking, like kitty.
animated, yeah.
Yeah,
Animated,
but
yeah.
this and Soul, oh man, like, this is definitely more for adults than kids. But
It's for
it's
the
still
kid. It's
it's
the kid inside of the
Yeah.
adults.
look, man. But anyway, me driving across the bridge crying to this song. Uh, look, even though it's not exactly a sad song when you think about the lyric, because it's more of like a coming of age song, like the caterpillars growing up and learn like being pulled apart, but
Hmm.
eventually they'll come back together, right? But
Hmm.
man, like this jank, the way it makes me
It's a
feel is
flashback.
like it's like
Yeah.
it's like the damn Fast and the Furious song when Paul Walker died.
Oh yes,
Oh my
yes,
Look,
goodness.
yes,
man,
I
look.
can't.
I mean,
yes.
God forbid I don't live long enough to make it to the singularity where I can upload my consciousness into a robot. Play the Fast and the Furious funeral song and play this song at my funeral, even though it has nothing to do with dying. I just want people to cry. All right, just do that for
Got you.
me.
Got you.
Thank you.
Got you. We got you. You know what I liked about this is again going to the thing that I said earlier about the U.S. only associating
Mm-hmm.
um, the the Latinos and Hispanics with Mexican, and therefore like the immigrant
Mhm.
struggle
Yeah,
with Mexicans, and not like it was so beautiful to see like other Spanish and just any other,
yeah,
countries that are not, connected with the US in that way, like do have very similar stories about struggle and wanting to like flee from, persecution or war or whatever it is, and trying to just all they're looking to do is just try to find a refuge and a place that is safe that they can protect and grow their family. And it was just like I just thought it was so beautiful. And I think we
mhm,
were talking about this in prep for the episode, that this scene and the story itself is meant to at least give tribute or honor to the Thousand Days War that actually took place in Colombia.
yeah, yeah. So that's what we get to in the flashback. Is we see Abuela and Abuelo and their three babies leading the townspeople away from danger because like there's folks setting their town on fire, and they make it to the river, but the folks that were trashing the town caught up to them, and Abuelo tries to buy him time, but he's cut down, and like, man, this is messing with me now. He's cut down. Like you don't see him die, but you see Abuela scream holding
Yeah.
them babies.
Oh, that was it was a soul cry. It
Right?
was
Yeah.
it was a guttural
Hmm.
soul cry that they somehow managed to, I don't know how they managed to animate that,
Yeah.
but
Look,
man.
like her that scream is like burned in there. Like anyway, but like that moment, that's the moment where the miracle was granted. Like when she screamed and the candle forms and like the ground starts moving and like mountains grow between them and their pursuers, and like that's when the Encanto is made to protect them. So like in that moment, her losing Abuela also saved everybody, but like, mm,
It was like his sacrifice. It was like his
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that scene, the closest thing that I can compare it to for people that may not have seen this movie yet, but have seen the second Black Panther, is
mm,
like Ramonda's like
man,
performance in the second Black Panther, right? Like
Angela
that's
Bassett did the
like I
thing.
don't know how they animated and figured out how they could capture the
That
same
grief,
essence that she
yeah.
was able to, yeah, that she was able to like put on screen. It's just, man, get your tissues.
She said, "My whole family is gone." Mm,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Encanto is
Also, shout
formed.
out to Abuelo because like she had triplets.
Yeah.
Just know that she had triplets.
Mm,
Like all them babies were the same age. They
yeah.
were all born at the same time. She had triplets. So shouts to her. She wasn't, she was tough.
Yeah, so the flashback ends, and Abuela says that they're broken because of her. And Maribel sees the butterfly from Bruno's vision, and tells her that the miracle, the family, and everything also, and that the family and everything is also because of her, and nothing can't be fixed as long as they're together. Sorry, that's a double negative, but I should have reworded that. Can't.
Anything can be fixed.
There you
Yeah, I
go.
get
Thank
it.
you.
Anything can be fixed as long as they're
Double
together. I'm
positive.
with you. I got you.
uh,
We're here.
Well, yeah,
um,
more butterflies appear and swarm around them, implying that like the magic is coming back, right?
and you know why the magic came back?
Why?
Do you want to know why the magic came back?
Tell us.
It was it was a Mother's Day miracle. We
Oh,
have on screen the very first ever documented apology from an elder
oh shit.
acknowledging that they were perpetuating this generational trauma, taking
Wow.
ownership of it, and actually saying, I'm sorry. This is a big moment because I have yet to have ever experienced this in my own life. So I don't. This is huge. The magic came back because she apologized. Everyone that's listening, tell your older folks that they just need to apologize.
And the magic will come back.
And the magic will come back.
That's funny.
I am going to be shadow banned for life.
That's
And these are why we didn't get our powers at one time that
she
everybody
said,
talks
and
about
that's
it.
why the magic
Right?
came back because Abuela said sorry. She
Yo,
Abuela
I
had
have
accountability.
that is
Ooh.
unheard of. That was a miracle. See, it was a miracle.
Don't worry.
Like the miracle that they had to do in Encanto, that miracle came back by just fixing her lips to say, "You're right. I'm sorry."
Uh, no, what I believe that one day you'll hear those words.
Okay, thanks.
So Bruno shows up on a horse all late to save Mirabelle. uh, Shout out Bruno, because what
I
if
love him.
Abuela wasn't there? Like
Right.
here he goes saving Mirabelle again. He was
Mhm.
trying. He had the bucket on his head and everything. Anyway, uh, Bruno shows up late to save Mirabelle, but it's all good to go now because he's late. And so Mirabelle and Abuela ride back on his horse back to the destroyed casita together, and the family's still out there, dusty, looking for Mirabelle. They-
Mirabelle.
Do you think that they were like genuinely worried, or if they're just like, "Yo, we need to beat her ass"? Like we're homeless now.
I mean,
Uh,
I think the mom was like the parents were generally worried.
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't say
definitely the
everybody
parents
else.
because they were on her side the whole time.
Yeah, they
They
held her down
yeah yeah.
within
Pep
the boundary set by the grandmother.
Peppa probably not. Peppa, I don't think she ever really fuck with Mirabelle. That's the way it's like she love her, but like if they weren't family, they wouldn't be friends. Anyway,
Right. She's
Yeah.
the
I
one
mean,
that's
she
lifting
also
up a
has her
lot.
own kids, right?
yeah
Like and her kids ain't messing shit up. Like her kids are they all got powers, like
yeah yeah.
Well, I gotta be punished.
But yeah, so we get the song "All of You," where they sing about being more than just their gifts,
Mhm.
and they welcome Bruno back in the song also. And this Dolores slips in. She knew Bruno was there the whole time.
Obviously, cuz she hears
Yes, because she
everything.
hears everything, and then if you really pay attention, she said it 2 times earlier in the movie, or she
Mhm.
hinted at it. The first time was
Mhm.
when Mirabelle asked her about the cracks, and she said, "Well, the rats in the wall are talking."
Mhm.
And then the second time was during the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song. She says she hears them in the walls. It's like sand falling.
Mhm.
So take all of that in mind, right? Think about what Bruno does in the walls, right? Like he's in there acting out his little his
It
little
goes
stories with
Eduardo.
the rats and Eduardo and everything. Do you think Dolores was in there like really like following it along like it's her soap operas?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
she would
A
look
thousand
forward, like I need
percent.
to know what happened to Eduardo and the rats. Like
That's
A
hilarious.
1000%. But like if she has supersonic hearing, right? Like
mhm.
if she hears everything, doesn't that also mean that she should have heard the sound of like scraping on the wall as he was plastering the
Oh yeah,
cracks?
she heard all that.
Ooh.
So here's the
Yeah.
thing. Even though she knew he was in there, and she probably eventually figured out why or already knew why and all that stuff, this is like Isabella falling in line and not wanting to get on the grandma's bad side. This is her way of doing that by not saying Bruno's still here.
True.
Because remember,
Yeah.
why does she keep this secret when she done told everybody else business, right? Uh
True.
I think like she knew that this would upset Abuela, so she didn't
Yeah.
cross that line. And even though she blew she blew up the dinner,
Mhm.
because she blurted it out that Mirabelle was doing the Mirabelle stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, well, why did she blurt that out? She blurted it out because she didn't want the proposal to happen. Because remember, she liked
Mm-hmm.
Mariano,
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That
so it
well,
was
and that was the thing, right? Because like
right.
Isabella had this beautiful verse We Don't Talk About Bruno,
Oh
and then the
yeah,
very next verse is
is
Dolores
Dolores saying that she
talking about
liked
the love
Mary?
of her life is gonna be betrothed to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I was
Mhm.
Yep.
like, bruh, we
Mhm.
already see where this is going, and this
Mhm.
I
is
even
messed
think
up.
there's a scene where she lies to her about something she heard in regards to him. I can't remember what she said, but she lies to her literally
Which one? She lies
about
to Dolores lies to who?
to Isabella
Mm.
in one of the scenes leading up to the dinner.
I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
something about like the excitement about the engagement or something like that. It has something to,
Hmm.
well, she tells him, she's the one that says he's planning on proposing. She lets that secret out.
Mm. Did
So
she say something
yeah,
about 5 babies or something?
Yeah, I think that's what it
That's
was.
what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, Dolores my favorite character.
I know, I love her.
Like, not just because she kept this, but because of everything. Like, the fact that she
yeah.
hears everything, she's a gossip, but then she keeps that secret, but then when it's time to when she's about to, like, lose her man, I get not really her man yet, but, like,
Yeah,
that's
The
when
love
she
of her
blows
life.
everything up, like, burns the whole house down because it was a personal choice. Go
I
Dolores.
also just find her to be, to me, I find her to be the prettiest of the sisters. Nothing, no knock against Mirabelle. But I just like her. I like that they made her, or even though she's not a sister, but of all the cousins, I should say, or
Yeah.
grandkids,
I mean,
I
yeah.
find her to be the prettiest. She's got, natural hair. She's got a little bit slightly darker skin tone. Like
Mm,
I mess with all of it.
I got you. Yeah, Dolores
Damn,
had it
now
going
I'm
on.
thinking about it. She would have heard the cracks too.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like literally the cracks. Not them trying to fix it, but like the cracks
Mhm.
happening. Yeah.
The townspeople arrive to help rebuild the house as they keep singing. When it's back up, they present Mirabelle with a doorknob to the house as as a way of finally giving her gift ceremony moment, right? Like now
Hmm.
you get to finally open the door, kind of thing. And when she puts the knob in the door starts to glow, and we see the magic form, like the silhouettes of the entire family. I didn't mention it before, but like everyone's door has them on their door. So now
Hmm.
the whole family's on the front door of the house. And Mirabelle is front and center. As they enter the revived casita, we see everyone's powers are back, and like casita pushes them all together. And we get a new family picture, and this time making sure Mirabelle was in it.
Hmm. First
Finn.
off, that end part of the song, All of You,
Yeah.
makes me sob like a freaking child every time.
Wow.
Like I can
When she gets
hear
the
and
doorknob?
see when she gets the doorknob, when they're like, "What do you see?" And she's like, "I see me." Oh my god! Like I'm teared up right now. Like that part of that song just makes me cry every time. But also, do you think there's anything to be said about, right? So like every time that one of them got a gift, their face was on the door, and also like what was behind the door, was directly correlated to what their gift is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with her, with them giving her the doorbell or the doorknob, I'm sorry, to open that door, for me, I took it as she does have a gift, and
Hmm.
it's not
Hmm.
as visible as everyone else's gift. Her gift is her
Hmm.
ability to be able to see her family and anticipate their needs and like
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
Because if you go all the way back to the very beginning, she knew exactly where Antonio was.
Yep.
She presented him with a stuffed animal, which was a little, Easter egg to what his gift was going to be. And like she was there with him when he had to do that walk. She was there to be able to comfort Louisa and let her know that she doesn't always have to be strong. She was there to break Isabella out of her
Yeah.
routine. Like she's been, her gift is her ability to be there for her family, to show up for her family.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I took it, at least.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. I took it two ways, and one of them really aligns to what you just said.
Hmm.
It's almost like not that she's the replacement of what Abuela is,
Hmm.
but what the realization of what a perfect Abuela might be,
Mm.
being that like keeping
She was a
people,
foil.
yeah, and like treating people the way and keeping them the way they are, and appreciating them for who they are, and allowing them to express themselves and be human, but also appreciating them and giving them support where needed, right? where otherwise it was everything's this way, it's rigid, and if it's it doesn't really give a lot of self expression or creativity or individuality to what their day to day lives were.
Yeah,
So I took that portion, and then I really liked how as an overall movie, and her story, Mirabelle, aligns so well with Bruno's story and like being misunderstood. I think their powers are kind of similar to kind of what you were saying. Like she's always it's kind of like the way I would think about it is like it's a time power, kind of like what you're saying. It's and they kind of align in like the isolationism, the people were kind of pushing them to the side. They'd understand it,
for
and
sure.
then
That's
but
definitely how Bruno like meshed with Mirabelle. Is
hmm
they both, they both were kind of the black sheep.
Hmm.
yeah, but both their powers were so significant to the longevity of the family,
Yeah,
and it's just the misunderstanding of what that power is and how you can relate to it because it doesn't give you like a direct like feeling of what it's capable of and how it benefits you.
yeah.
So it's yeah, essentially.
I agree with all of that, but I also like that they kept it vague. Like it just wasn't straight
hmm
up like boom, Mirabelle has a power now and the new power saves everybody. Like it's implied. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was the friends we made all along. Like, that sort of
Hmm.
Yo, funny
Hmm.
enough, I
Mhm.
was gonna say the One Piece thing, but then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Do it. We make One Piece jokes on this every other episode.
The One Piece was the
The
friends we made
mhm.
all along,
Yep,
along the
along the
journey.
way.
Yeah,
Which was also a Brotaku block running joke. Anyway, yeah.
you're right. So I was like, let me
Throwback.
not do that.
Yeah, so amazing movie. So just a couple of discussion prompts real quick. What was your favorite song?
Um, for me, it has to be We Don't Talk About Bruno. Just because Cha Cha is such a
Mm.
huge music genre for me as Puerto Rican, but also like married to a Filipino. Like half of their line dances are to cha cha songs. So knowing that like I can flip any one of their line dances with the We Don't Talk About Bruno as the soundtrack in the background, like I love it. I love it. I used to compete in like ballroom dancing, and I would absolutely have made a full on choreography to this song if I was still competing.
Okay, okay, okay. Maybe we'll
Denzel.
still see it one day. Mine's definitely Surface Pressure. I think just the visuals of what we get with like the Greek mythology and like the Hercules and the Titanic, like all those like random scenes, and then
Pressure like a
like
drip, drip, drip.
Yep.
right,
Mm.
right. It just all together like with the visuals, what's going on, how Louisa feels afterwards.
Yeah.
It was just good.
I I don't know if I have a favorite song. I know I love Pressure, Bruno obviously, but also What Else Can I Do?
hmm
Bring it
Hmm.
in, bring it in like uh
Yes.
there's another one like I mean, oh, and
Dos Oruguitas.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. uh
It's okay. We know that's your favorite. It's fine.
man, look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna own
We're
it.
gonna be real.
I mean, I got it's a four-way tie, maybe a five-way tie. What's the other one? I'm not
Family Magical?
I mean, that's a bop too. The whole thing's a
Yeah.
bop. But
The whole
also,
thing,
what's the
yeah.
next one? When they take the picture without her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The way yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Waiting on a
Yeah.
miracle.
The I
Yeah.
can
Waiting on a
move
Miracle. Yep.
mountain. Yeah, like I can't sing, but in my head I can sing, and like that's a bop. Yeah, love the songs. Yeah. Okay. What about this? What character are you?
Mm,
Uh, that's a good question.
I've never thought about it.
I have. I have. Because
You seen this
obviously I
movie
have.
87 times?
Obviously. Well, I thought about it because as a former cosplayer, the minute that
Mm,
this
true,
came
true, true,
out,
true.
I immediately was like, who can I
Who'd you
cosplay as?
cosplay?
And the first one that came to me that I actually was showing a picture that I have a comparison of is Dolores. I took a picture a while back when I went to some like dance hall thing where I had my hair up, curly, and wrapped up in like a red, scarf around my head and a yellow shirt. And so it looks very similar to the color scheme of Dolores. But I think if I was being true to personality wise versus my physical appearance, I would say I'm Louisa. And I think that just comes from being the oldest of my
Yeah.
five sisters.
I was
The
gonna add that in
only
if you didn't say that.
yeah, the
Yeah.
only child for my mom. So there's always been a significant amount of pressure and this like underlying, whether it was implied or self-imposed, feeling of like responsibility, especially as I get older now and I see that like the onus is starting to fall more on our generation to either uphold traditions, start traditions, take over for responsibilities as far as, care of elders or finances, those kind of things. So I would say Louisa.
All right,
Hmm.
Denzel.
So it's weird, right? So I think I present to other people like I would be Louisa for similar reasons that Lola discussed. But I feel like if I was being like really, really true to myself, maybe like a Camilo, because I feel like a lot of times I have to kind of adapt to what's going on, and I have to do that really quickly. And I feel like that would apply to me really, really to my core.
Yeah, man. I definitely expected you to say Dolores. I feel like you're Dolores. I feel like you hear so much stuff. I feel like so many people think that they can confide in you, that you
That's
hear
fair.
so
I didn't
much
think about it like
stuff.
that.
But I think that in real talk, like you, while you are good with the confidants, I also think that like there is an underlying like you can't keep your mouth shut and something's gonna come out eventually. Like you're definitely gonna blow some stuff up, especially if it's for like self preservation.
Fair enough.
If it were up to me, I would definitely put you as a Dolores.
You know, crazy enough, right? So I was gonna say that, but I was like, nah, there's no way. That's like it's like the tip of your tongue choice, but you're like,
Hmm.
nah, that doesn't sound right.
I'll say Dolores.
So maybe I'll take it. I'll accept it. I'm a Dolores.
what about
Congratulations.
what about you, Tiff?
I'm gonna go with Mirabelle, and not on some main character shit, but just because
Hmm.
I be getting on niggas' nerves. Like I like I know it. Like, it's like God, what is he on? Like he's always on some shit. Like just, I get it, I
That
get
is
it.
hilarious.
Um,
That's so funny.
that I'm either doing the most or not enough.
Or good
mm,
intentions, but somehow it like
yeah, yeah, like
See,
doesn't the outcome
that could
doesn't come
lean
out to
Bruno.
what
yeah.
your intention was. Yeah.
It could lean a
Also,
little Bruno.
I be telling people about themselves, and then like they get mad at me, and I'm like, if I wasn't your friend, I wouldn't
True.
tell you fucking up. But here we go.
You know what? True, true, true. Now that you're explaining it,
Look,
yeah, I can see the Maribel, yeah.
like I'm like everything. Not everything. I'm not perfect, but for the most part, like there's always like a method to my madness, and like it's usually good intentions, but it don't always come across that way. Or I just get on people's nerves. I would be Abuela's least favorite. I know that. But I also would be the one to like tell Abuela about herself and then really be her least favorite. It's Maribel.
Stefan said, I'll accept the fact that you don't like me, but you're going to listen.
Look, I'm doing this for your own good. Why are you
It's for the
booing me?
family.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. Anything we didn't get to? Anything you want to say?
For me, I think that one of the things that we didn't really touch on, but is very important to me, is twofold. One, it's that starting with, I want to say starting with Moana, I started to
Hmm.
see a little bit of a shift in the newer Disney storytelling
Is that
that
because
is
Lin
very
Manuel's is involved?
empowering. No, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I loved that like Moana was about saving her family, saving her location, and while she had the help of Maui, there wasn't a romantic aspect of it. There wasn't a love interest. It wasn't this
Hmm.
damsel in distress.
Mhm.
that had, was always like this weird little underlying theme in older Disney stuff. So I definitely do feel that like the changes that we're seeing in culture are being represented in some of these newer movies, and I like that they're bringing up these stories where, you know, Mirabelle, she's got, she's the main character, she's doing all this stuff, but there wasn't a love interest involved. There wasn't some guy. I mean, even though that's a secondary storyline for somebody else in
Yeah.
the movie, in the
It
movie,
wasn't it
but
wasn't really a thing. It wasn't a
yeah,
driving force.
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate that. And then the other big thing for me, honestly, really was the representation. Not just visually on screen, but in their casting.
Oh,
They
yeah.
made
We
very
we saw
conscious.
all levels of Colombians too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like just Colombians, but they did really
Yeah.
make a conscious effort to cast a lot of Colombians, whether it was big names like Maluma, who plays Mariano or voices Mariano in the movie.
I didn't even know
Um,
that.
yeah, and like, Pepita's Colombian, Abuela's Colombian, Felix is Colombian, but also, John Leguizamo's Puerto Rican. I think what's her name, Guerrero, Diana Guerrero, who does Isabella, she's Cuban, I think.
Mm.
The person who played Antonio is Dominican. So like there was just a vast array of actors that I think also helped with the on-screen representation in the hair types, the body shapes, the skin tones, the fact that they literally made Luisa strong and like visibly thicker than what you would normally consider someone to be
Oh,
pretty,
yeah,
and yet
that's
they still constantly say she's beautiful, she's
Yeah.
strong and beautiful. And they just really did such a good job, I think, of showing the full spectrum of um Latino, Colombian,
oh, yeah,
Hispanic,
that's what I
you
was getting
know.
at, like, you see all different shapes and sizes and
Yeah,
colors, which is something that doesn't always happen,
yeah,
and if you didn't know before, I'm sorry, if you don't know now you know, that's what folks look like down there. It's a
yeah,
spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So the one thing I did point out early on that I said when talking about Lin Manuel, there have been some rumors about next year, 2024, Disney releasing an animated movie called Suerte, which means luck in
Oh yeah.
Spanish, and it's supposed to be based in Puerto Rico, and it's supposed to be a Puerto Rican, because it had Lin Manuel Miranda listed again as doing the music. I haven't seen anything really coming from any significant source that I can feel is credible to say that it is in fact confirmed. And the limited information that I saw was very disheartening. I don't know if it was just people speculating about who the voice actors were versus people that were actually confirmed. There was not a lot of Spanish representation, let alone Puerto Rican representation. The basis for the storyline that I heard, again, I'm not crazy about it. And I know that this is one of those areas that you're never going to be able to satisfy everyone. But if there was one takeaway, I hope that Disney execs got from the success of Encanto is that you can tell stories that don't have to perpetuate stereotypes and don't have to be limited to like these struggle come up stories,
Yeah.
and like have success, and you can show diversity and representation. And so I really hope that, if there is any truth to that movie and other movies that might be in the works, that they really do look at what worked well with Encanto and try to apply those same things to any future projects that they have. I've always been a huge proponent for the fact that they're, in the same way they took all of the folklores to create the Little Mermaids and the, Hansel and Gretel's and all these other things. Like there's so many folklores in the various Latin American countries that they can pull from, and they can show us Peru and Mayans, and they can show us Chile or Brazil, and they can show us Cuba or Dominican Republic. Like, it doesn't always have to be the stereotypical that we've had so long. So I really hope that they move forward in that same direction, because Encanto was such an amazing success that for them to do anything less than what they did with that would just feel like it's going backwards.
Amen. Denzel.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up that. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
My bad.
What was that?
My
Was that
bad.
trading places with Eddie Murphy? Just dude
Right,
in the jail of the
like
scene, just yeah, yeah.
so
Cosign.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every time Lola
Like
talk,
we
yeah,
collectively said, you know what I'm saying? Like the representation.
yeah. And it's
But no,
hot
no, no.
outside too.
Right. But on a serious note, I agree. Like Disney as a overarching company has really shown, even with the Marvel universe, their initiative to one, promote and highlight women and women of color as well, and those cultures that are attached to them. And I've really been happy to see that, because that is a very welcome change to what we've been seeing in media for the past or so years. So it's nice to see change and seeing it being done so well. So I'm happy that that's coming out. But it is gonna take that, extra level of effort, maybe hiring the right people, doing the work of finding out what they can do with these stories, instead of just kind of perpetrating or regurgitating things that, everyone assumes or stereotypes about those cultures and people.
Which they
So
did a great job with this movie because they went
yeah.
down to Colombia and I don't remember her real name, but their cultural guide
Mhm.
that they followed around and taught them stuff, they made Mirabelle look like her. So
Mm.
like folks would go to, and she's from like a small town too. So folks would go to that town to like get autographs and pictures with her, which is really cute. And she opened up her own little bookstore. Like a lot of the almost all her notes, all the things that little things that she told them to do, and like it's like this, not this, and all that stuff. They really listened to her and put it into the movie.
And see, and that just kind of gives that extra layer of like, it really impacts the people and
Yeah,
highlights the culture, right?
yeah.
So like it puts it beyond the movie, and that's kind of what I think the expectation is now. Like, especially for such a big organization like Disney, like you can do this and you can do it right.
Oh yeah,
So
Mhm.
that should be the minimal expectation of what the product should
yeah. I'm not even gonna hold you. Disney is an evil corporation, but they've been really,
be. They've
really
been intentional,
trying
right?
these last few years or several years. And
And I'm happy for that.
yeah, I'm like they're still evil, but like it's good. Keep it up. Keep it up. Make up for some of it, you know?
And I'm trying to see a Caribbean version. I know there's like
I'm
Pacific
trying to
Islander.
see Disney Jonestown Mass. No, look,
You
it's the
wild.
only guy. It's the only shit people know about Guyana. I'm sorry, and it pisses me off. But
I mean, listen, if I ever saw a Disney animated film where they had roti or like bus up shop, or like, I would lose my mind. I would literally lose my mind.
I'm
If I
just
saw them
saying.
putting some like pepper sauce, I would like, well, that's it.
look,
It's all gone down. They better make that oxtail look extra,
Mm,
extra juicy.
look, I
Like,
would love it. I'm still. I'm not going to say I'm satisfied, but I love Cool Runnings so much
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that I'm all right if they just animate Cool Runnings. But
yeah, I
All
feel
right.
you
I'm
on it.
still for, I'm still with it though.
Yeah.
I'd be welcoming. But yeah, nothing else I can say that we ain't already talked about. Such a cute movie, such a good movie. So ratings. I'm gonna start. I said I thought I gave this a 10 out of 10, and I did. And on my scale, a 10 means life changing. So like, let me just run it down real quick. Like, so like 5 is unremarkable. Everything below that is some version of not good. But 5 is unremarkable. Nothing really to say about it, right? 6 decent. It's fine. You don't feel like you wasted your time watching it. 7 good. 8 great. 9 masterpiece. 10 is life changing. And I gave this a 10 because like I could not stop thinking about it for like 3 weeks. Like it was so good. Like I said, I can't say anything that we haven't already said, but 10 out of 10. Definitely, it's not in my DVD collection yet, but it's gonna be. It's gonna be. Lola.
For me, my rating for Encanto is that I would have waited in line for at least a week for the initial drop.
Oh,
Mm,
And let me tell
man.
you,
okay.
I don't wait in lines for anything. I don't care about initial drops. But for
She
this
said she
movie,
camping out.
I would have camped out with, I mean, I literally would be the very first person in that line if that meant that I had to be there 3 weeks before the drop was going to happen. That's how high, in such high regard, I hold this movie.
Denzel.
Man, she went to the sneaker. The okay, okay. I'll keep it real light, and I'll give it 10 out of 10 butterflies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I Mariposa. Okay.
No me aguantes ya.
All right. So we all loved it. Needless to say.
And a
Yeah. That's
very happy Mother's Day to everyone
Oh
that's
yeah.
hearing this,
Thank
whether
you.
it's before or after.
Thank you for cycling back to that. Yeah, this has been a Mother's Day episode. Thank you for listening. And I just wanted to say happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers, all of the mother figures, all of the
Call you mother.
hopeful mothers, all of
Hmm.
the mothers who are no longer with us. That's important too. Thank you. And thank you for listening. And go hug your mothers. Oh, uh, before we sign off, do y'all want to give any social media? You don't have to. If you want, or any plugs or anything you want people to go look at.
I made all my social media private. I'm not
You
out here in
done.
the
You said
world
you out
like
the
that no
game.
more. I'm
She
out the
said she
game.
All
retired.
right. Well, now you a podcaster and a cinephile, so you back in.
I like it. In that sense, I will point people to my passion project. And that is just a lifestyle blog about me and my Filipino husband joining our two blended cultures into one family. So feel free to follow at Fab Filirican. That's at FABFILIRICAN.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
all right. Denzel.
About to like and subscribe the crap out of that. All right. Same old as always. It's at Gym Leader Brock. Come follow me on Instagram. And yeah,
All right. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at SGBK Podcast. Don't nobody follow us, so please follow us. If you haven't already, like and subscribe the podcast so more folks could listen to us. Shout out Quebec and Singapore, our and Washington State, our only three hardcore fans. Hardcore as in y'all come back every week. I don't know if you're real or not. Hopefully you're not a bot. Me personally, don't follow me on shit except for Letterbox. I'm at Tiffzilla on Letterbox. And thank you. Happy Mother's Day, guys.
Happy Mother's Day.
happy Mother's Day.
Bye.
Bye.